Today, we talk politics.
I will not be running for a fourth term, and I've decided to step down at the end of the month.
Today, City Council selected Rosie Castro to temporarily represent District 7 until the May election.
It's almost May now, and these are your new City Council candidates for District 7.
My name is Dan Rossiter. I'm running for City Council District 7.
I'm Marina Alderete Gavito, and I'm running for City Council District 7.
You've probably seen their faces on roadside posters, but today, we listen firsthand at what these candidates can bring to our city. My name is Sam Black, and welcome to Revision News.
You know, District 7 is kind of funky because closer to in-town, it's the Woodlawn Lake area, Jefferson, Monticello area, and it goes all the way out to Bandera in 1604.
There are roughly about 152,000 people living in this district, so choosing the right city council is very important. We have 5 topics to discuss. First up, how will the city communicate with its residents?
So the vast majority of the systems that support, say, 311 and other services that San Antonians may be familiar with, those technologies are built on software that was developed in the early 90s. It's not sufficient to support the 1.5 million San Antonians that rely on it today. The fundamental idea is we need to fix the backing system. From there, it opens up a lot of opportunities to then share that information in new and innovative ways. And so fixing all of that, both from a user experience perspective, but also from a backing technology perspective, is a critical top priority for me.
Now, here's Marina's answer.
You know, I really want to push the team to communicate to residents the way they consume information. For younger generations, it might be text, social media. For older generations, it may be phone call or pieces of mail. I mean, being accessible to your residents and your constituents is the most important thing. The residents are my boss.
The city's customer service line receives about 320,000 calls a year, so it is important they keep track of all information. All right, now let's talk about parks, roads, and one infamous state highway.
We incorrectly sometimes figure parks are very different than roads, and the reality is, if done correctly, they can serve collectively as a way for people to get where they want to go, especially if you look at linear parks, if you look at creekways that provide pathways for bikes and pedestrians.
Our Greenway Trails is 82 miles, and it's great. People love it. But District 7, they hate Bandera Road, and we really need to fix it.
Bandera Road is tricky because it is a state highway. A lot of it runs through Leon Valley, and then part of it is through the city. So you're going to need someone with experience working at the local and state level to move this project along, and I have a lot of business experience doing that.
The opinions on how to fix it vary greatly. Some people would love to see an elevated spur that runs basically right on top of the existing road, so you've got 2 layers that way. A lot of other folks don't want to have a highway running through their neighborhood. The alternative option that TxDOT put forward is to run a road below Bandera Road. So you can avoid the need to expand in terms of footprint, but you still gain that doubled capacity by going down.
We just hope that whoever is elected can bring forward a solution to fixing Bandera Road's traffic. And for our next topic,
one of the things that we're seeing a lot of in District 7 is zoning changes. San Antonio is growing, right? We're gonna have 1 million new people coming over the next couple of years. We're gonna have to grow together. And so I think that you need a leader who can bring neighbors and neighborhood associations and developers and say, how do we best grow together?
So let's talk Prue Bend.
Prue Bend is a neighborhood that sits next to 11 acres of land. Residents bought houses here thinking it would always be natural space. But a developer bought the land and is planning on building. And the residents, they're fighting back. Here's what the candidates had to say.
If they're going to develop it, though, we need to make sure that we're being careful that we do not damage things downstream. I'll tell you, my biggest concern is pollutants making their way from development happening there into the creekway that's directly adjacent. My concerns also, of course, for the residents who I don't think were communicated with appropriately leading up to this.
I mean, if that's your house, you know, I can understand how that change is jarring, right? And so, you know, you need to work with the neighbors and the developer to say, how can we make it work for both?
And so I'll take ownership for sure that in office, I'm going to make sure every developer is proactively and early communicating with these neighborhoods so that we can come to a solution that works for everyone.
Next topic, let's discuss jobs and businesses. For example, HEB. They are proudly San Antonian. Their HQ is right downtown, yet their tech hub is located in Austin. So, how do we bring back and retain higher paying jobs in our city?
And how do we attract those companies here? We don't want those tech hubs in Austin. We want them here. I will tell you right off the bat, we need a more educated workforce. But I also understand that sometimes it is hard to be able to go to training or whatever when you have a child who needs daycare. We have to address those causes that is preventing them from getting a job so that they can go and get a job.
It all comes back to creating a space where people want to be. It's all about enhancing what we have today with the beautiful history that the San Antonio has, with public art, with amenities that are going to draw in the employers and the employees that want to be here.
So now, how do we support these small local businesses when they're competing with these massive corporations?
So we've got Deco Pizzeria, which is a cornerstone in that community on the southern portion of the district. And then we've got a lot of vacant buildings all around it. And there's a community plan for developing that space. It was written in the early 2000s. We as a city have failed to execute on that plan. But it's certainly my intention when in office to work from these plans that these communities have put together for what they want to see, and work to steer the right investments and the right businesses in order to create this prosperity that they deserve.
District 7 is full of small businesses, and so we have to be consistently open to them, working with them on zoning change requests. I think voting against Proposition A, because the loudest feedback I've heard on voting against Proposition A has come from small business owners.
Prop A is important and quite controversial, which brings us to our final topic.
So regarding the Proposition A or the Justice Charter, I'm going to be voting no.
I will be voting no to the Justice Charter.
Okay, let's go back to Rosie Castro then. After she took a temporary seat in the city council, she had this to say about Prop A. One of the things that I really feel good about is that there are a lot of young people who are looking for a different way of doing government, a different way of creating the city. Rosie Castro. But here is what the candidates, the business community, and even Mayor Ron Nierenberg think about Prop A.
The issue that I have with the Justice Charter is that with the expanded cite and release, that it is requiring police officers to issue a citation or a ticket instead of arrest, essentially telling our police officers what to do. It's a slippery slope when we're micromanaging our police officers.
The number one issue is it's bad for small business. So as a small business owner myself, I can't afford someone going and doing $2,500 worth of graffiti on the side of one of my buildings. Separately, there's jurisdictional issues, major jurisdictional issues with the Justice Charter attempting to supersede state law, which is just illegal. And then there's also the issue of the Justice Director, I think is the role's name, but the position laid out in the Justice Charter that would be meant to propose policy changes within SAPD. That person can't have a law enforcement background. It is an insult to the men and women who are out there in the field working to have someone who does not have that background attempting to lay out policy that has any chance of being effective.
It really does make sense. A bill like this is too difficult to be beneficial for everyone. But it goes to show that there are people fighting to have their voices heard. And the candidates, they know this.
The Justice Charter is a tough pill to swallow, is that it's all or nothing. I wish it was itemized where we could vote on the decriminalization of low levels of marijuana. It's a no-brainer, right? Like, we're seeing the national trend go to this, let's do that here, you know? The decriminalization of abortion, you know, police not doing no-knock warrants or chokeholds, which is already in their training. So there is a lot of goodness in the Justice Charter. I just think bundling it to be all or nothing is tough.
So, I mean, I think those are great initiatives, ones that I'm personally supportive of. I support legalizing marijuana and taxing it, great tax revenue there. I support women being able to do what they want with their body. The problem is these aren't policies that the municipal government is authorized to weigh in on. And so these are fights we need to be taking to the state and to the federal government. And so that energy is fantastic. I certainly encourage young people to get involved in that way, but focus it where you can actually legally make the difference. Let's go and take that fight to Austin. Let's take that fight to DC.
Well, that's all we've got. It's a lot of information, and there's a lot more the candidates want to offer our city. So if you are registered, early voting begins on Monday, April 24th, and Election Day will be on May 6th.